Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today it's time to talk about Tapu Bulu. No, not Tapu Bulu GX, just regular Tapu Bulu. Now, he is coming out in the Sun and Moon 2 Strengthening Expansion Pack, which will probably be part of our August set, Guardians Rising being our May set. Now, he is a basic Pokemon, which is awesome because it means he can use Fighting Fury Bout for 40 more HP and for his attacks to do 10 more damage. It means you can use Max Elixir to attach energy. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and if you find a basic energy there, attach it to a benched basic Pokemon. He is a grass Pokemon, which is kind of good because it means you're hitting weakness against things like Lycanroc and Zygarde, but it's a little bit awkward because grass Pokemon like Decidueye at the moment are really good. So they've painted a target on their back and they're being countered by fire decks like Volcanion. And Tapu Bulu's also weak to fire and will also be countered by those same fire decks. Little bit annoying. And 130 HP is fairly standard for a big, bulky, non-GX basic Pokemon. First attack, grass and a colourless, 30 damage and heal 30. If this was a single energy attack, I would be delighted. I would think this is a very nice attack. But it's not a single energy attack. It takes 2 energy to do this attack, and it's just a little bit too much. 30 damage is nice, and if you put a choice band on there, you're doing 60 to EXs and GXs, and I suppose you can even use Professor Kukui to put it up to 80, but it's just not quite enough. Healing 30 damage is nice, but it's just not quite enough. It just seems a little bit underpowered. Now, one of the things I like about Tapu Bulu, being a grass Pokemon, is that you can use the Aether Paradise Conservation Area Stadium, which is coming out in Guardians Rising, and reduces damage done to grass and lightning Pokemon by 30. So you put a Fighting Fury Bout on him, he's got 170 HP. Aether Paradise Conservation Area means you're taking 30 less damage, then you're healing 30. There is some tanking ability here, but you're still only doing 30 damage per turn. It's not very much. Yes, you're having damage reduced. Yes, you're healing, but you're also giving your opponent a few more hits. That's going to add up. So a good attack, but one which probably isn't going to see that much play. For a grass and a double colourless, you can use Tapu Strike. 60 damage. If you used your GX attack this game, it does 60 more. Now, don't forget you can use a double colourless energy here, and this I quite like. Free energy, 120 damage. Now, this is fairly standard nowadays on GXs, like, in fact, Tapu Bulu GX. But here's the thing. This is on a non-GX that is only giving up a single prize. And that's a lot nicer. You're doing 120, and like a lot of these attacks, it's one hit KO on a weak Pokemon, something like Zygarde, and a 2-hit KO on basically anything else. Now, Tapu Bulu GX also does 120 for free energy, but you get to use double colourless where Tapu Bulu doesn't. But Tapu Bulu can discard all energy attached to him and do 180, whereas you're just doing a flat 120. This is not a bad attacker at all. It's not got the power of Tapu Bulu GX. But as a nice non-GX attacker, it's pretty good. Now, you do need to use your GX attack early game, but we have some decent choices for early game GX attacks. You could use something like Drampa, for instance, or something like Metagross. Now, I know Metagross is a stage 2 metal. I know it wouldn't be played with Tapu Bulu. It's just an example of a GX attack you would want to be using in the early game. And if you are planning to use it nice and early, then this attack just becomes 120 for a grass double colourless on a non-GX Pokemon. So, where does that leave Tapu Bulu? I think that leaves him as a tech non-GX. Now, I've been a big fan. I've said this before. I'm a big fan of playing a deck which is Tapu Koko GX and Tapu Bulu GX. They're both basic Pokemon, so you'll be playing Fighting Fury Bout and Max Elixir. They are Grass and Lightning, which means Aether Paradise Conservation Area that I mentioned earlier. I've done a video about that, link in the description. Will work for both of these Pokemon, so there's a little bit of synergy going on, not between the Pokemon Pokemon themselves, but in that they all both use the same support cards. And Tapu Bulu could go in here. You do want to play some non-GXs to force your opponent into a 7-prize game, and for newer players, very quickly, they need to take 6 prizes to win the game. That's knocking out 3 GXs. If I play 1 non-GX and they KO it, and they KO 2 GXs, they're only taking 5 prizes, so they've still got to KO 3 GXs. After KOing a non-GX, they've got to take 7 prizes to win rather than 6. And as an extra non-GX, just to force your opponent into a 7-prize game, Tapu Bulu's quite fun. As a Pokemon on his own, little bit expensive, little bit underpowered. You don't want to be hammering away with Tapu Bulu here. You want to be hammering away with something like Tapu Bulu GX or Tapu Koko GX. They are bigger and stronger and more powerful. But as a nice little tech card, I like it quite a lot. And I'm going to give it, I think, a fairly generous 3 Wassies. Maybe it should be between 2 and 3, but I'm giving it a generous 3 Wassies. I don't think it's a great card, but remember my rule. 3 Wassies means you should have a copy in your binder, and I think you should have a copy of this or 2 in your binder, because you might want to take it into decks in the future, especially if we get good Pokemon where you want to be using the GX attack nice and early. Now you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. There is a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel, and I would be delighted if you would use them both. You can follow me on Twitter @TheWassie, and the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.